Hello, and welcome to an episode of Walk the Dog Cinema. We are trying to get out of here before the rain starts coming, and it's a cool day today. Rain's in the horizon. Roka's ready to get her move on. Sit. Can you sit for me? Hey, sit. Good girl. As you can see, she's excited. Kind of out there, so I'm just trying to calm her down a little bit here and see if I can get her to look at the camera. No, she's camera shy, so we'll get our walk on and start strolling here. And the big movie I'm going to talk about, is kind of looking forward to seeing this one, Predator's Badlands. An interesting Predator movie to the canon. There's some really good stuff and some really bad stuff to the whole experience of watching the film. I'm gonna kind of talk about my biases here on this one. I wouldn't say it inherently ruined my enjoyment, because as the movie kept going, I actually started to enjoy the movie more and more. But overall, it's it is an interesting Predator movie, so to speak. But let's get into all that and talk about Predator Badlands. So yeah, Predator Badlands. By the end of the film, I was kind of enjoying it. Actually, especially the very end, I kind of want to see a second one, so to speak. It kind of grew on me. It was strange because it's competently made, and I'm not going to say that, and it's definitely got a lot of kind of plot holes, so to speak. And I would say it's not a Predator movie in the sense of how I would think a Predator movie should go. Obviously, I'm not a filmmaker, so I think it's kind of bold. But the flip side of it is I also don't want to see my Predator, the Utah, be that humanized. And I'm not saying alien species have human-like qualities, but to really humanize them, it was kind of an interesting take. Kind of reading up on Dan Trachtenberg, who directed this. It was interesting, his outlook at the film. I think for the most part he succeeded. Deck, the Predator, you kind of grow to like. For me at least, I like the synthetic girl with the comedy and things like that. I think Ellie Fanning does a really good job with the two parts that she has. I like the little flip with the monster that Deck is hunting. And like I said, it's kind of cool to see it from the perspective of the Predator kind of being the hero. And that whole aspect and plot, I actually don't mind, because in reality, on one level, the Predator isn't inherently good or bad. Yes, he's hunting. It's kind of their basis. So we just look at it from a human side, that he's the villain. Obviously, when he hits, the human aspect of it. But from an alien perspective, it isn't outside their culture and what they're doing. So the Predator was always kind of cool like that in that regard, because it isn't wholly evil, though we think of it as kind of this murderous thing. But in reality, it's kind of like hunting us like sport that we do to the animals of Earth, right? I don't know it's not using it as feed, but trophies. So it isn't any different than trophy hunting in that regard. And since it's not human, and culturally speaking, this isn't humans hunting humans kind of aspect to it. We kind of put our own human spin on it. So that was always what was kind of interesting with Predator. So this aspects kind of takes that and obviously makes him the hero so to speak. And I say that lightly. The hero, he's still just hunting a creature, and you can take what you want from that. But how he grows and all that, I get the emotions in the movie because it is a major theme in the film, and in terms of how that responds to the environment and using that to your advantage and things like that. But those are the aspects I like about the film for sure. The parts that I don't like, I'll get to in just a minute. And so the parts of the film, I'm going to admit I have a certain bias, and this is kind of the hard part of where, fandom, or as we have some stuff that isn't totally referenced, like the mythology of the Predator, it's always kind of kept in secret. You kind of piece it together. And so as a fan of the movies and watching them, you like what you like from them. It's art. So, you take your own emotions and your own senses of what you enjoy about the movies. And I've always liked that, especially Predators, they're highly technological, but they also feel so alien. And I think that's kind of the fun aspect of the movies that get it so right, that they never come off human, especially 1 and 2. They really don't come off human at all. And even the actor who portrays it kind of doesn't even move somewhat humanly. It's very reptilian, very just kind of stalking, but also kind of very smart. And the way both of them are kind of beaten by Danny Glover and Arnold some arrogance takes over because they feel they're a little bit more superior, which is always kind of an interesting thing. And you'd say, wasn't that very human? Yeah, but it's done very alien aspect to it. And I kind of always like that. And, within English and stuff like that. So there's some hard stuff to take in this film, especially at the very beginning to settle in. It's setting it up. But if you have a certain bias to one way or the other and how you feel about Predator, the beginning's a really rough start with brotherly love and all this human emotion, and he's a runt and dad's horrible and the family dynamics and all this stuff, and you're kind of like, really? They're so alien but then so human. And so you really gotta separate it. And so on that level you go, is this really a Predator movie then? And so it kind of builds there. But, the question becomes, do you want yourself to spend the time, roughly a good 50 minutes, of where it really doesn't feel like a Predator movie, and then it turns into a Predator movie? So that first half is really what biases you going to bring to this film. And I would say if you've never seen it and you're biased and you've been avoiding it because you don't feel like, and you've heard that it's not a Predator movie and that 15 minutes are going to bug you, I'd say stay clear. But if you can kind of sit in it a little bit, it ends up being pretty entertaining and kind of gets to a point where you maybe want to see more. But at the same time, it's almost like a what if Predator movie. So it's this weird, really dichotomy with the film. But it is entertaining. I can put it in that level, at least for me. And so ultimately, with those emotions and all that carries over, the real overarching theme of it is family bonds and the love of family and whatever that looks like. The Dex brother shows him compassion where other Predators don't. And so you got brother love instituting this start of this film, and the adventure to get to the title card. And then we get Dex making his own tribe, basically, out of a synth and kind of a plot twist creature that looks like a dog and acts kind of like a puppy, but ends up being rather unstoppable on one level. And how he kind of views them as tools and then bonds with them. So, like I said, all of that can be interesting. It's just a question of, do you want that in a Predator movie? It is set very well and done very well. It's just, again, it's a Predator movie, so you kind of, it can be very jarring in that regard, especially, like I said, whatever biases you bring with that. It's an action adventure movie. It's not horror. It's not, scary or anything like that we would think of maybe with Predator. So it is a different take. Like I said, it is rather bold to go in that direction. So I give it to Dan for kind of going bold. I don't think it inherently ruins Predator in that sense. If it's a misfire for you, you still got the other stuff. If it works, then you got more to build on, right? But I think for me, the biggest aspect and problem of the first half is that, it is a culture that is built on hunting, and you would think that they would have been practicing and working, and it kind of shows that in the beginning. But man, Dex is stupid, and I get we have to have an arc in building to it, but the way they kind of treat the lead character until he gets to the end when he becomes a Predator, it's kind of like, yeah, I mean, he kind of deserves, from a Predator standpoint, if he didn't pick up on anything in his trainings or anything, he seems highly untrained, to where it makes sense why they don't want him in. Like there's all those kind of things that go through your head, because the way he acts on the planet, the Badlands planet, Genna, the Death Planet, is just kind of bullheaded rushness, and you say, well, that's his personality and all that. I get that, but we're talking also about a culture that prides on the hunt, so you think he would have been being groomed on how to hunt and do things. And then Predators using their cloaks on each other, to me, seems pointless. It was always about using it against their opponents who can't see them. Predators see in a heat register, so you saying the cloaks also cloak their heat register. I don't know that one, and I'm not familiar with any of that, but that just seemed kind of dumb to me. So tell me in the comments if I'm missing something with that one, how them turning invisible would even affect another Predator, because I think Predators would kind of see through that, considering they made the technology and fight within there. So the cloak thing and the fight, it's a cool visual. That one just kind of seems to be rule of cool than actually thinking through. And that's kind of the jarring parts of this movie, is that there's a lot of stuff that is thought through and you can see it. And then when the stuff that doesn't feel as thought through, just to get the visual, seems just kind of tacked on, and then it kind of really pulls you out of the movie, at least for me, because it just doesn't stay in that moment. And when I found out what the original ending of this film was like this samurai showdown and one hit kill kind of thing that he takes care of his father with, and that doesn't spoil the ending, so to speak, because you see it coming from a mile away. I actually think that ending would have worked better, because it really would have showed Dex's growth of becoming a badass Predator. So I don't know, this way it still makes him kind of cool and how he uses the environment, and I get all that, but this, I understand why the change, but I'm just saying the other way I feel would have been cooler, especially for Dex. So, I get the emotional aspects of why they changed the ending to what they did, but in and of itself, like, it does end on a kind of cool cliffhanger. Each their own, will take it for what it is, but I kind of wouldn't mind seeing a second part, to tell you the truth, and maybe delve a little bit more and see what they do with it, maybe. But overall, depending upon what your biases are, is kind of how you're going to take this film. And let me know in the comments what you thought of Predator Badlands. Again, it's not a terrible movie. It's just kind of a not Predator movie, so to speak. It gets there, but it just kind of doesn't start there. So again, interesting take. But if you like what you see, please subscribe. Have a good one, everyone. Stay dry.